everyone, and welcome to my review of the latest episode of The Gifted. And I do have to say, after watching this episode, I think it is my favorite so far in the season. It was just nice to finally get so many answers in that kind of, it was a good balance of like finding out things and being like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy, and oh my gosh, this makes sense. So one of the biggest things for me was finally figuring out how Andy and Lauren had their powers. I knew obviously that somehow it was going to have to play in that there was some gene on either of their parents' side, because the X gene is obviously a gene that, like, you know, travels through one side of a family. So I was really interested to see how that was going to play out, and the way they did it was so phenomenal in a way I never ever would have guessed. So we got to see the two people in the beginning who are Lauren and Andy's great-grandfather and great-aunt, I guess, right? And they combine their powers together much like Andy and Lauren can. They have the exact same powers as them, and when they combine them, they became like this world-destroying power that kind of just wanted to do damage and bad things. So because of that, Reid's father ran away from them and worked his entire life to try and build a serum that could suppress or get rid of the X gene, and that's what he did with Reid. And I think it was more surprising to me to find out that Reid was a mutant and like had his power suppressed, and you realize like as it was all coming together, like when he was like saying like, I didn't get it to work for all the general mutants, but I got it to work for one, like you're like, oh my gosh, it was Reid. And then you're like, oh my gosh, that's why he was in the hospital and sick really badly. His dad did this to him. And it was just so heartbreaking to see like his father be like, I tried to prevent this. I sacrificed and gave up so much because I was trying to prevent this, and now it's reincarnated in Lauren and Andy again. So it'll be interesting. I'm wondering if it's like the power itself, when it combines, like you just can't control it and it just is destruction, much like Andy's powers, because Lauren seems to have a very good handle on her powers and everything, and her powers are much more about like building and protecting and stuff like that. So I wonder if it literally is like going to be like this power is reincarnated in them, or if Andy and Lauren can control it because they don't want to rob banks and blow things up like their relatives did. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. It was just so weird when he was like, tell me what their powers are. And then the dad's like, come closer. Have they held hands? And Reid is like, what? Like, no, this is just so weird. He's like, have they held hands? And I think it'll be interesting to see how strong exactly their powers are, because we got a glimpse of just what's-his-face on their own. The dad on his own was able to like his powers are strong enough that he could get past Pulse's power, which takes away mutants' powers, and that's just on his own. That wasn't combining his powers with someone. So I'm assuming that if Pulse, R.I.P. Pulse, but if he was still alive, Andy and Lauren, their powers would still be able to work even when he was repressing them, which is just so scary to think of that their powers are that strong. I think, like, I'm okay with Lauren, but like Andy, dude's gonna freak out. So we'll see how that works and how Reid is going to tell them in the next episode, hopefully, because I feel like it's definitely going to be kind of this big weight of like, my dad kept this secret from me for my whole life, and it turns out I was one of you, but he got rid of it for me. And also if that can come into play and kind of like, I could see it being a conflict of like, if we can get a drug that can get rid of the X gene, is it worth it to not be hunted down anymore? Or like, I could see them like almost like a suicide kind of backup thing, you know, like if they get captured, they could hit themselves with that instead, and then their powers can't be used against their friends like we saw with the girl Chloe in this episode, because that was super heartbreaking to see. Once again, I feel like they do such a great job of showing all the powers and combining them. So when they did the first initial attack on Chloe, I love seeing how Marcos kind of got her like still with the sun rays, and then Clarice was able to portal right above her so John could go through and just knock her out. It was really nice to see that. It was also cool because we got another mutant who's gonna be a somewhat regular, I guess. I think her name's Esme. She's a telepath, and it was very cool to see how she could work with it and be like, there's someone here that's a spy, because if that person had gotten in, bad things would have happened. And I did like that they were like smart enough. Well, I mean, it was really Esme, but like they were like smart enough to be able to stop the spy from actually getting into the camp. Like, I thought it was going to be like the episode was going to be them trying to figure out who it was, but I was glad that it was more trying to figure out what they can do to get information out of her. And I really liked, you found out that not only are they somehow manipulating, mind controlling these mutants, but they're also giving them a drug that kind of enhances their powers, and also has them hooked on the drug, so it's making them more dependent to Centennial Services for the drug, obviously. And I'm wondering if this is going to be a thing now where hopefully Caitlin or someone, I mean, they have tons of brilliant people in the underground, will be able to engineer some kind of reverse for it, because it just seemed like right now it's like a death sentence. Like, I think that is especially what John was realizing, is that, like, I think we were all holding out hope that, like, Pulse could be brought back, and me more so because, like, he was on Vampire Diaries forever, so I was like, you don't just hire that guy for one episode, he's gonna be on more. But you definitely got to see, like, he looked so strung out and drugged and just done when he got the other drug, and I think that changes an element to it now, because it's not only like, okay, maybe we can knock you out and finally get some sense back into, it's like, even if we do get you back, your person back, they're dependent on this drug that ultimately kills them, like it did with Chloe, and like it probably would have done with Pulse eventually, even though he did die in that explosion. It was a really sad but powerful moment to see John and Reid kind of come together, and that they both lost people that meant so much to them. I feel like it was in different ways, because obviously Reid was kind of more shell-shocked about how he was discovering all this new information and thinking that his dad was really a bad person, when really his dad had kind of sacrificed so much to protect the world. And I think it was just really sad when, like, you saw John with Gus and you saw Reid with his dad, and they both, well, Reid really didn't get to, but John at least got to say his goodbyes and make his promise that he's going to make the people who did this to Gus pay for it, and then they buried them side by side, and that was just really, like, it was moving and powerful to see, because now it's kind of like, it reminds you that, like, these are the stakes. This is why we're fighting, and why we can't just go along with what they're saying, because they can literally kill us, they can mind control us, they can make it so we're shells of our former selves. And it was just, I think, really important to remind us about the gravity of the situation, because it can get kind of fun, I think, and lighthearted, and also kind of, you know, why don't you just give up? Why don't you just turn yourself into Centennial Services and stop fighting? And I think that reminds you why, because even if you do, there's no guarantee they're going to let you live in peace. So it really is a war now. It's not even a choice anymore. So I really, really like this episode. Like I said, I think it was great to see how they're dealing with this, and again, seeing how the stakes are changing, that they're going after people, they're killing them on sight, they're using them, and now this whole element, I feel like, of adding the drugs to the mutants to make them more powerful adds another high stakes element to it, because now, like I said, not only if we get the people back, now we have to worry about them not dying from this drug that they've been on for so long. So I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen in the next episode. But I really, really love this episode, obviously, and if you have seen it, please feel free to leave your thoughts about it down below in the comments. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel down below to be told to make all sorts of new videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!